In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, fellas. Welcome to The Greater Good. My name's Tony.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the channel where we come up with creative ideas, thoughts, and share suggestions and advice to help people improve their lives and join in becoming part of the greater good.
Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Greater Good. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tony, along with my twin brother, Joe, here. And we are just loving life and hoping you are too. So today is a very important episode, I have to say. So today we wanted to kind of just step back and say, all right, you did the self-diagnostic test, hopefully, and you're well prepared to start the journey. But then there's also things that you can bring with you along this journey that can better help to strengthen you and your clarity and focus as you grow into the greater good. And as we've been referencing the vehicle, which is kind of an easy thing to connect with you when you're thinking about it, is that if you've checked did the self-diagnostic check to make sure there's engine in the oil in the engine, there's gas in the tank, there's air in the tires, there's fluid in the radiator, like the mirrors aren't cracked, the windshield's all good, like everything is good to go. But then in most vehicles now you can have what they call like a roadside assistance kit with you. And in roadside assistance kit, there's usually jumper cables. There's usually some type of pump to pump up the tires with air that plugs into the cigarette lighter. Usually you want to pack like spare headlights or bulbs in there just in case that you do blow a fuse with the headlight. Road flares in case you get sideline. There's somebody could protect you from other vehicles that are passing on the road. So those are things that are important for you to have with you in the vehicle instead of being like, oh crap, now I need these things. Like I wish I had jumper cables with me. I wish I had a spare headlight with me. Like they're already there with you to help you along your journey. So some of the things real quick that we thought that might be good for you to bring as your roadside assistance kit, and then we'll get a little bit more into them, were a personal mantra. One of those things where it's like you're just repeating to yourself constantly as you're going along, that are just reminding you what you're doing daily, progressing you along the way. Some of you should be repeating to yourself, morning, noon, and night at the very least, but probably more often than that. A vision board, creating a vision board and bringing that along with you on the journey, reflecting on this vision board. Again, morning, noon, and night, taking time to really hone in your emotional with your mind and helping you to progress forward. Joe, I'm losing off the top of my head. What are some other ones that we were discussing before we got on air here? I know that there were some other ones that we were mentioning that we'll get into a little bit further here. But what were you were talking about specifically?
As far as like going along with the mantra and the vision boards, like the things that can kind of help you keep on track and serve as constant reminders, I also thought it would be a good idea to have some sort of like trinket or bauble or bracelet, like kind of like a little bracelet that you can keep around your wrist.
That's right.
Something that like maybe nobody else knows what it means, but you kind of like have imbibed it or endowed it with your vision, like it has some sort of meaning for you, and you can see it. Maybe something you can hang in your car. I know you're not allowed to hang off your rear view mirror anymore, but dangle from your keychain or put somewhere that you're constantly going to be either fondling it or seeing it, and so it can serve as a kind of a physical reminder as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So even like something that's simple, or it's only other people might just see it as a bracelet, but you see it as a reminder of your driving force there. I did remember, now I'm recalling, we touched on like even having something that you smell. Like I have essential oils with me, which now I've, of course, in this case, there you go. Yeah, like I bring this. This one's called Envision, and it smells wonderful. But yeah, just the the name of the oil, like Envision, reminds me like I want to keep envisioning a greater good. But then the smell like connects me. Like if I'm having a bad day, like I'll just pull this out and take a a few. Woo, yeah, get your kind of clear and focused. So those are some of the the tools that we say that you want to kind of have with you to prepare yourself for taking the journey. I know a lot of people like, oh, let's get in the car, let's go, but we want to, part of this is patience and process. So we want to make sure that you're being aware of everything that's available to you to make sure that you progress in a powerful way. So, Joe, why don't you kick us off here? Pick any of the tools that you like and kind of elaborate on what you see. Like, because I know a lot of people, like, for instance, like if you want to choose vision board, a lot of people have different ideas of it. So, if you want to just pick one and elaborate on it, what it means to you, and what you incorporate on each one of the tools there.
Yeah, sure, man. I think that you did a great job of kind of breaking it down and explaining what we're trying to do here, like kind of like a what to pack, or an emergency first aid kit or a roadside assistance kit. You need to have those tools, because one of the biggest things I think that I personally am worried about, and I've experienced in the past, is like kind of you get a strong feeling of where you're going and why you're going, and then something happens, like these obstacles, no matter how hard you prepare for them, they can derail you, or maybe you just kind of burn out and get a little bit lost. Either way, like we want to have this here to kind of recharge you and keep you going. So I think that doing this now and making sure you pack it and get used to it and get in the habit of kind of building these things so that you have them with you is going to be very important. Yeah, for vision board, I actually personally did a vision board in the past, and it was very powerful. And I avoided it at the beginning because I didn't believe, I had a lot of limiting self-beliefs. I didn't think I was creative enough. I didn't want to do something that was subpar and then have to stare at it all the time, right? But I think that like my best advice would be to get into it. You don't need to be a perfect artist. I kind of wrote down a lot of things, feelings or emotions, or kind of just places that I wanted to go, and changes I wanted to make in myself. And I went on the internet and I just printed out, I found pictures that resonated with me that kind of embodied that. Or I drag up own personal pictures that I had of me and my family, or me, kind of in successful poses, like where I was going, or what the kind of life that I wanted to live. And so I printed those out and I kind of compiled them, and that, so I didn't need to be a big artist and draw it. If you are, and that's great, but you can also use a printer and use some glue and scissors, right? With it. Another thing that I did, ironically, and which I felt was really helpful, probably even more helpful than creating a vision board where I wanted to go. That was great, having that kind of that visual representation. But I also made a vision board, if you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it. But I took a lot of pictures of me not at my best that I had, and I printed them out. Or a lot of like kind of elements about my life I found found some pictures that I thought represented that very well, things that I wanted to move away from. And I made a parallel board of that. So I kind of put that board up there with the other board, and I drew arrows, moving. And ironically, the arrows were to develop my mind, develop my body, develop my soul. The purpose to get away from what I didn't want and towards where I wanted to be. So yeah, I think vision boards can be very powerful. Make it a little project. It doesn't have to be perfect. Putting it up in your bedroom, sticking it on the wall, or finding something small, to put in your office, wherever you work. If you work at home, or if you work at your desk and you have a place you can put it by your computer. So just something that's going to see, you can reflect on it in the morning when you wake up. You can look at it before you go to bed. So a vision board is one tool that can really help. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think that vision boards, I wrote down that they can help to kind of combat despair, right? When you're feeling kind of lost and feeling like this is all hopeless, then you can look at it and kind of get reaffirmed as why you're doing this and where you're going, right? What about, I know that you personally mentioned a motto or a mantra, and I find that very interesting. I've never done that before, but like even like you mentioned smells, a piece of music, even like a kind of like Eminem has some good kind of like pump you up like,
There you
things that
go.
you can play.
Every good road trip needs a nice burnt CD to pop in,
Yeah,
right? And a good playlist. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Music is one that we didn't mention in the beginning here, but that's definitely a powerful tool. Um, and one that really connects quick. Like I noticed that, and we'll just since you mentioned the music, we'll kind of cover that real quick. Is that I can almost with like one song change the mood. Like if I'm driving into work, let's say, and I'm just like, oh, not really feeling it today, I'll just pop on, one of my go-to songs and like really get into this song. Like I'm like really, singing the lyrics and like embodying the beat of the song. And like by the end of the song, like I'm really sometimes I'll put it on repeat, I'll play it 2 or 3 times, but
Yeah,
it does really change. It's a quick focus changer and really realigns you and get you on a better frame of mind, so to speak. Um, yeah, that's highly recommended there. I know there's many different studies between music and mind that helps to just like it has to be a positive song or at least a positive beat to it to kind of get you more energized, because if you put on a sad song or a depressing, like it has that same kind of flux with it too. So it's really important that you pick a couple good power songs to have queued up ready to go. But yeah, as far as like I thought one of the most powerful ones, because it's individualistic in a sense, is that a personal mantra or motto to live by. It's you have your greater good, and you kind of want to like put a phrase that you can that it captures that and be constantly repeating it to yourself. So I always break it down like and I for myself, like I wrote like what is a motto, what is a mantra, even though people might know or might not know. So it's like um, I wrote that it is a phrase that captures one's beliefs or ideas which they embody and use to guide them. So it's something where it's a strong belief, like a simple phrase, strong belief, but you take it on and it sinks into the mind, sinks into the heart, sinks into the soul. So mind, body, soul, you're going there, where it's all encaptivating, and it uses it as a guiding force. And that was when I looked up the definition. That was pretty much like almost spot on with what a definition of a motto is, like a guiding message there. Um, so I wrote like some examples that you can have, like if you're trying to your greater good is like you want to see the world health improve or something like that. Like if that's your greater good, which is a greater good. Um, like a great healing is upon me. A great healing is upon me. A great healing is upon us. Like however you want to phrase that out. Um, one I just came up with this morning was progress trumps circumstance. So it's like basically regardless of your circumstance, progress will always trump that. So as long as it's kind of the reminder, like as long as you progress, that will trump whatever you're going through. So progress trumps circumstance. And so it's an easy one to keep in mind. And then the last one I kind of jotted down as an example was always keep improving. So again, like you want to maybe tie those in. Progress trumps circumstance, so always keep improving. Progress trumps circumstance, so always keep improving. So you're kind of remembering these things and you're pushing yourself forward. And why is it important? It's important because it gives you the needed reminder of what you're looking to accomplish and pushes you forward as a driving force. It connects you with who you are at your core and provides you with the strength in weak moments. So when you're feeling down, when you're feeling out, when you're feeling rugged, like maybe do them all. Maybe why not? They're all great. Throw on the power song, repeat your mantra to you, look at your vision board and do some jumping jacks. I don't like have like an all-inclusive, if it's a really bad moment for you. But some of these things that are just when you put them in, when you stack them and have them ready to go, it's much easier to stay on the path, stay focused, and not be derailed by any type of hurdle that might come up for you. So that's what I had as far as motto. And again, like how can you create a motto? Like you can use one of the examples. You can use take an example from someone who inspires you, or you can create your own based on your own personal greater good, your own personal purpose there, which I think is more powerful and I think connects with you a little bit more when you come up with it on your own there. It's a little bit different than affirmation, Joe. I think people might get confused. Affirmation, motto. I like to throw affirmations up on my vision board, like I am gratitude, I am passion, I am loving kindness. So like you see those I am statements on the vision board, but as far as a motto, I think it's something that like embodies the whole purpose of what you're looking to do. Like it's like a key reminder. Progress trumps circumstance. There's no word I in that that little statement there, and it's it's that powerful reminder to keep you focused, centered, and in control.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what do you got? What else? What other tools in the toolkit you elaborate?
It's funny that like I guess we're kind of keyed in together because like a lot of the stuff that you talked about is stuff that I like. You just said like when you were talking about motto, and it can be anything, creating motto. Like I thought about my purpose. If you go back to episode 3, and you can figure out what my purpose is, but that could be a perfect motto for me. Love, appreciation, wonderment. It doesn't even have to like make a sentence. It could just be words that you grab from your greater good, and you just repeat those words, right? Love, appreciation, wonderment. Love, appreciation, wonderment, so that you remind yourself what your kind of is your driving force and how you want to live your life. And another thing that I was laughing about is that you mentioned affirmations, which I kind of wrote down as another tool. I combined it with visualization, so we can jump over there. But I think that to combat despair, or like you said, when you need that kick, having these reminders, these mantras, these trinkets that you can kind of latch on, that you can see, that are like you can intentionally focus on them to remind you, or they're also subconsciously and subtly reminding you throughout your day as well. But visualizations are important. You can practice these. The best time to practice visualizations about just having a picture and seeing yourself succeeding, seeing yourself where you want to be. You can do that before you go to bed, at night, when you wake up in the morning, and a good time to do it is also when you're exercising. Again, combining that body with the mind and the soul is really good. And I wrote affirmations as well. Is a good time to do it, while you're exercising, or as well, or just when you feel a little bit lost. I wrote that you can combat self-doubt with these things when you're feeling like you're not good enough or that you can't do it. Affirmations are a wonderful way to do that. And I was thinking, like, because sometimes like you're like, I don't like, you use these words like, I don't want to be a disappointment to my children anymore, or I want to be a person that somebody likes, right? Using that I want to, you're already saying that by definition that you're not that, and so your brain's going to latch onto that. But if you can rephrase that, if you find yourself saying, I don't want to be a disappointment to my children anymore, you could say, I am not going to be a disappointment to my children, or I will not. But I think am is very powerful, because when you say I am, you're embodying that. For example, if I want to be a person that somebody likes, you can say I am becoming a person that somebody likes, and your brain can takes that, and it becomes self-fulfilling. So finding a way to rephrase your doubts and practicing that is going to be, I think, a great thing to add to the toolkit. Tony, you have something to say about that?
Yeah, just because I mean, I like the example, and I definitely say like each affirmation should start with I am, and it should also um, it should also be removed from the negative. So you should try to find a way to write it out in a positive statement instead of using like the words don't or not or can't.
Yeah.
Like but also just because the example you gave, like I am becoming a person somebody likes, like I'm becoming a person that I like is more important though. Like you're
Yeah.
becoming a person
Yeah.
that you like and love instead of others. Yes, like if you, but it's first you got to make sure that you love and like yourself, or else it don't really matter what other people. It'd be great if everyone loves you, but most important is that you love yourself, or else it's your mission, your purpose, your drive is always going to be lacking in some way. If your driving force is to have others like you, that's not, unfortunately, that's you're going to be inhibited from progressing. I've
Yeah.
experienced it so much. I've always been others first, others first. It doesn't really matter about me, others first. And yes, you got to care about other people, but you also have to care about yourself.
Yeah. You won't be in a position you won't be in the best position to help other people until you are able to kind of help yourself and to love others. I think that, like that whole go on an airplane going down analogy, like they always say, take care of yourself first, so then you can save, put on your gas mask first, so you can help
Exactly.
other people. And if you're like lost for affirmations, like what I was saying is take your self doubts and rephrase them and put them in affirmations. I agree that avoiding negativity is very good. Your brain doesn't know how to cut things out, but it does know how to embody things, right? Um, but other things that you can, like, if you have, like, I wrote down a couple just good examples. If you don't have any idea of what to use for affirmations, like I am worthy, I am loved, I love myself, I'm making positive change, stuff like that, and then you can start to embody that. So I think that visualizations and affirmations are a good thing to add. Uh, I also think that practicing loving kindness is going to be important for when you fail, or when you inevitably just feel like you disappointed yourself or messed up. So,
Mhm.
uh, for example, like uh, you know, if you wanted to, if you didn't want to eat sweet food, and then you know they had a birthday party and there was a bunch of ice cream and you broke down and ate that. That was your goal. Like that's one of your habits you're trying to do, right? You feel
Yeah.
like you have a messed up, then you can practice loving kindness, and you can kind of talk about like, I am sorry, I love you, I forgive you, to yourself, right? Again, going back to what you said, Tony, about practicing self-love.
Sorry, I had to address something real quick, but let's go. Sorry about that,
We
Jesse.
can we can edit that out. So let me go back to where I was. All right, yeah. So where can we go back to? Yeah, I think that practicing loving kindness is is very important for when you get in a position where you inevitably fail or you feel like you've failed. Like I didn't write like combat failure, but I wrote combat feelings of failure or feelings of disappointment. So an example, I don't know, maybe you're trying to get healthier or lose weight, and you decide, okay, this week I'm going to reduce, limit, or eliminate sugar in my diet. And then it's Aunt Bernice's birthday party, and there's like a nice big chocolate cake being passed around, and how can so you have that. That doesn't mean that you're done, that you're off. You know what I mean? You need to just say, okay, I am perfect. I'm trying to make changes. Do your affirmations. Also say I am sorry. Say sorry to yourself for slipping up. Say I love you, and say I forgive you, and then you can move on, right? So if you're beating yourself up, then that's just kind of giving negative momentum. Is going to continue to spiral you downwards and generate that feeling of that you're not worthy enough to get past these hurdles, right? But if you kind of just say, oh, I'm human, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I forgive myself, I'm getting better. Like you said, your mantra is progress negates or trumps circumstance, right? So, tomorrow I'm just gonna keep going. This doesn't mean that I've messed up my whole day, my whole goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also wrote a little comment that you can practice this loving kindness with other people, but obviously, as we mentioned before, it's important to start with yourself. That's probably going to be the best practice. You are your own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be something that I would kind of get in the habit of doing if you can. Maybe write those down as reminders and pull those out when you feel like failure, right? I got a bunch of things now that we can talk about, Tony. So,
One good I was going to mention, practice loving kindness, and I mean, I think that's a lot of times people get derailed or lack, you get a little setback or whatever because, like you mentioned, I was on a diet, but everyone was having a piece of cake, so I had a piece of cake. It's now the time of year, it's the holidays, so it's like, cakes and candies and everything all around and lots of food, so it's like it's almost hard not to indulge a little bit. But and this is episode 4, is I feel like writing it down helps. Like when you do your journaling, if you write that down, like, hey, today it was whoever Aunt Pat's birthday or whoever you mentioned before in your example, and I was doing really good with my diet, but I did indulge and have ice cream and cake, and now I kind of feel like a little rotten about it. I realized that maybe I shouldn't have done the cake. Everyone was having it, so I kind of felt like I didn't want to be left out, or whatever the case was, whatever your mentality was thinking about it. One, I don't think you should see it as like you did wrong, like in a sense, like you slipped up. All right, you slipped up. But I always, like, if I do something like that when I'm doing it, I always write back at it again tomorrow, or back at it again. Like this is a reminder. Like, all right, I had my little slip up. Whatever happened, I'm gonna back at it again. Progress trumps circumstance.
Yeah, not giving up, right?
Yeah.
This isn't going to get me. Yeah, I wrote journaling down as one of the tools under the road kit analogy. I wrote it the star too. I think journaling, we gave a whole episode to it already. Like that was one of the first things we jumped into it. And this is a key stuff. This is, this isn't even just something in your roadside assistant kit. This is something that you want to bring everywhere. You're going to want to write down your thoughts, your feelings. This is your kind of this is your mantra to the world. People are going to read about this, or nobody needs to read about it, but it's going to help you through so much stuff. So I think keystone habit is journaling. Another one that I started, I know that last episode I kind of dismissed it as a growth habit, but I do think it is more and more that I think about it. A keystone habit is sleep. I think sleep is very important. Sleep does so much to combat, energy drain, willpower drain, mental fatigue. This is a lot of stuff that you need to have in tip-top shape. And if you're not getting proper sleep, then you're setting yourself up at a disadvantage from the beginning, right?
Mhm.
So I think that we'll probably dedicate a whole episode to how you can improve your sleep and develop your sleep. But if you're not, or if you're, take a gauge in yourself, diagnostic test and definitely see where your sleep's at, because this is going to be something that you want to nail down, because you'll need that energy, you'll need that mental clarity, and it's not really easy to get to it if you don't have sleep. So I kind of threw that in here, just because we're talking about keystone habits. We'll get into that later. But as far as going a little bit more with the toolkit, another thing I wrote down is patience is underrated. uh, to combat, like, sometimes we talked about toxic people a couple times, and sometimes you get into confrontations that are not positive, and that will just derail you. It will knock the wind out of your sails. Sometimes like one of my goals, if you look back at the last episode, was to be more present in my interactions with other people, like my family, my students, and just strangers. And sometimes you just like don't have the patience for people, and that's going to be so to combat confrontation or combat feelings of aloofness, you might need to practice patience. Be patient with other people. Take time to step back before you react, and assess the situation, see where they might be coming from, see how you might do something to turn the situation around. I've journaled, and I've had amazing results with this week, and I kind of wanted to share, but this is a lot. Like, there was I'm part of a Discord server, and there was a kind of a forum for giving feedback, and I kind of gave some feedback, and then another thing came up, so I commented on that, and then a third thing came up, and I just kind of made something to, like, uh, uh, kind of lighten the mood. It was a bit funny, and then somebody who kind of was really serious sent me a personal message and was like, you commented 3 times, and you should only. And I got, my first reaction was to take offense, like, why is this person being stick in the mud type thing, my comments were valid and constructive, and I got defensive. But then after kind of thinking about it, I thought, well, what can I do about the situation? I said, I don't really need. Those comments don't really need to be there. Yeah, I feel that they're important, but I can also comply. And I said, and this person does have a point. The person who's going through the feedback has a lot to digest and to sift through. And if I'm adding multiple comments, that's going to make it difficult, especially if they're off topic. So I complied. I kind of compiled things down, and I diluted it. And I said, you're right. I'm sorry about that. And a situation that could have been confrontational actually turned out to be very pleasant, because they were appreciative of that. And a couple of things happened like that too when I was fixing my car. Just, there was multiple instances where somebody was trying to take advantage of me, or somebody was getting angry, and I was getting ready to react, and I just took a minute to kind of figure out, how can I rephrase the situation, what can I do to make this less confrontational. And it turns like that just takes the wind out of their sails if they're actively trying to be confrontational, and they get kind of taken aback, and they feel a little bit humbled, usually in most cases, and it turns out to be a very pleasant situation. So yeah, I've been having amazing results with that, and it's great to journal it, because that just kind of keeps that positivity going. But I think that breathing helps a lot with that. So practicing breathing, connecting that body and the mind, right? So if you feel like reacting, take some deep breaths. So if I could add something into the toolkit, practice breathing. When you feel
Yeah,
worried, feel stressed, breathing exercises is going to be really important.
that's it. That should be one of those things where it's like at a stop sign, like take a deep breath. Yeah,
Breathe. Yeah.
it should be a stop and breathe sign kind of deal. Yeah, man, that's it's great that you're already kind of seeing the power of the the tools and using them effectively, and it's it is that's how that's why we're covering this right now, is because we know that they're important, to bring with you, to help you along the way. Like if you just got in and go, yeah, I mean, you can get there, but it's better to kind of have these helpful toolkit things along the way, because as Joe just pointed out, like a simple like reframing there, and because he's been putting these things into practice, have allowed for better results instead of derailing him along the way and putting some setbacks up there. And it's just it's crazy. The more you get into it and the more you do it, it becomes less of a like a burden, or not burden, but like less of a I got to do this, and more of like it just becomes you, and it's great.
Yeah.
And it affects, and you mentioned it has effect on not just yourself but those involved with you, and around you. So it's a kind of that trickle fold down there when you put all these things in order and into line there. Good stuff, man. Good job on really taking the power hold on that. Was there anything else you wanted to add as far as tools or toolkits or anything like that? And you did mention definitely breath work is one of the main ones that you should be working on there. Deep breath a couple times throughout the day is cleansing, your mind and your body.
Yeah, that connects everything. You can alleviate stress that way. You can take a moment to reassess the situation and diffuse it rather than escalating it. So yeah, I think that breathing really helps, and it helps you feel better. It helps you to relax. I also kind of put another tool in there that I thought was the opposite. So patience and breathing is important to combat confrontation that you might not want, or aloofness that you might not want. Maybe your son's trying to show you something. Dad, look at this video, or look what I did. And you're like, yeah, okay. You're distracted on your phone, or you're not there present. But if you take a minute to breathe and say, okay, I'm going to spend the effort to pay attention, because it's going to be a meaningful interaction with my son, and I'm going to appreciate that later. That can really help. But I think that for yourself, another tool that we can throw in, this will probably be the last one. I think there's a few other things, but I think this is an important one to get to, is I had a really busy day today. I find that a lot of times, like when I have lots of time in the day to work on my habits, I spend a lot of that time avoiding them, or with like aversion, right? But when I have time, when I don't have time to think about it, like today, and I'm really productive. It's amazing. I got so much things done today that should have taken like many days, but because I had too much stuff to do, and I just woke up and I just went. I went there, and then I had to go there, and I had to go there, and I got so much stuff done today. So another thing I wrote down today was, don't think, just do it. Maybe take the Mary Robbins, like 3, 2, 1, and just go.
Nike.
Yeah, just do it, right? I think so. To combat aversion, when you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to work on this habit right now, that should be like something that you can that can trigger. Like if you ever feel yourself like saying, I don't want to, then maybe you kind of make a mental trigger, like, okay, now 3, 2, 1, go, and you just dive into it and get it done. You'll find that once you start doing things and stop thinking about them, it wasn't really that bad, and you got a lot more done than you could have. So I would add that kind of practice into it if possible.
Yeah.
um, yeah
That's a great one. And usually you find, like, once you start moving and getting into it, it's like, oh man, why was I putting so much weight on this? Like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like, it almost took more energy repeating to yourself you didn't want to do it than actually getting up and doing it. And you find, like, it kind of starts to build on itself. Like everything we're kind of lining out here starts to kind of,
yeah
you know, build and get you to a point where it's like it's almost effortless to incorporate these things there, which is the ideal, and which is kind of the next step that we'll get into probably by next episode, unless we kind of think of something else that might be needed in the vehicle with you. But yeah, yeah. The other one that I think we didn't really touch upon was, the smell one. Having that scented thing there. I mean, smell. I forget like the scientific thing, but smell is like one of those, like, it bypasses the limbic system or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to go through the whole process there. Like, you smell and it's like almost instantly. Like, smells the most tied to scent to memory. So if you have a strong, like, a lot of people, have like a smell that attaches them with like something from their childhood, like a grandmother's house or something like that. Like, my grandmother's house always smelled like lavender. So like, get a thing of lavender and keep it with you, and like bring yourself back to that sense of calm, peace, joy, innocence. Those are really helpful things that make the smell like something enjoyable, something personable, if you have that type of reference where it's I love my childhood home because my mom was always cooking blueberry pies, and I love that smell of blueberry pie. So get a little blueberry scent, and keep that with you, and have it tied to that memory there.
Yeah.
It's really important when you're dealing with the scent kind of with it. It's some type of uplifting scent that's going to make you calm and centered and aligned with the moment that you're in there. So yeah, I think if you have other ideas of things that you might want to throw in the toolkit, yeah, do comment on that, and let us know. We do like to hear about that, and I'm sure there's other ideas out there. Again, it's a personal journey, so you probably have different ideas there, but these are some of the ones that we find that could be most effective for you. Did you have something to interject, Joe?
No, I think that you did a really good job. Personal is kind of a common theme that we're talking about here. We can share our own stories and our own thoughts about what we believe is the greater good, and what our purpose is, but you need to hone this in and personalize it as much as possible. And in fact, that's actually one of the tools that I kind of wrote down as well. If you're struggling to get off the lot, right? You got all your tools, you checked your car, but some reason you just can't seem to get it going. You might need to kind of recalibrate your purpose and see if you can tie it to something even more personal that hits home. Like, for example, for me, I want to see a prevailing appreciation of life. I think that would create a greater world, because there would be more gratitude, more respect, more patience, more kindness. But that's a bit general for the world. I want to see that for the world. So if I wanted to, like, kind of make immediate changes, I might want to say I want to see a prevailing appreciation of life for my kids to live in a safer, more accepting, and harmonious world, right? So now I've made it personal because I can see my children. I want the well-being of my children. So as much as you can make it personal, that's going to be a strong motivating force for you as well. Tie your purpose to things that hit close to home as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think that we've given them tons of little things to pack away, to kind of get in the habit of doing, so that when the going gets rough, they can keep going. That's right, keep on going. So let's talk about let's get, maybe for homework, I want you guys to kind of practice these things. Obviously, write down some of your affirmations, create a vision board, come up with a mantra. Yeah. And find some sense or songs that you can kind of get in your toolkit. Pack that toolkit up as much as possible. Practice some breathing. Practice just doing it. 1, 2, 3, go. And once you kind of get better at doing this stuff, then you'll know that you have a really strong, reliable toolkit for when you break down. So Tony, what do you want to tackle next week now that we've got everybody? I think we're fully started to go, man.
I kind of think, we kind of said this a few times, but I don't really know what else, it's time to take that journey, man. That's what I think. I feel, of course, we'll reflect and make sure that there's all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But as far as right now, I mean, you're self-diagnosed. You're building your toolkit there. You got all those systems in line. I think you crank the key and step on that gas. But you kind of you want to take it slow first. Like, if you, like, as we mentioned, like, let's say you're going from New York to California, you don't want to shoot that whole shot. Like, let me see how far as I can get here. You're like, you're gonna run your engine out and you're gonna run out of gas and blow your tires and stuff. Like, let's go from here to Pittsburgh. Like, let's take it gradually. Let's start to get comfortable with the vehicle and let's start to put some steps in progress and make sure we don't have to recalibrate from a short distance there. So I think I think next episode we'll get into little things that you can focus on to as you take the first length of that journey there, and really put some core habits in place to create that long haul, that full journey there. What do you think, Joe? Is that a good idea? Are we ready to turn the key?
Yeah, we can mention what core habits we think once you're set with your self-diagnostics test and you got yourself on an even keel, we can talk about the growth habits and and how you can kind of make yourself even more awesome. Right? So
yeah.
Until then.
Yeah. Even though we're cutting it all off. Yeah. So yeah. Until next time, friends. Thank you for coming. Same black hair, same two twins. Your host for the show, Tony and Joe. Good night.
Love you, bro.
You good?
You too.